So this is my shareback video for the SEL PLC, and the big takeaway I've gotten from the PLC, and also just exploring these sort of strategies in my personal life with my son, is that even though social and emotional learning is not necessarily what you're being assessed on in your classes, and it's not the academic content of your classes. Some people call these soft skills, which we're not super thrilled with this term, but anyway, that's what most people call them. Is that they are really, really important, because without the SEL skills, you're not going to be able to learn the academic skills in your classroom. So, for example, my son is having trouble with social and emotional learning, and so he's not able to focus and do what he needs to do in the classroom. And the same thing with our students. If they are lacking and or struggling in some area of social emotional learning, then they're not going to be prepared to take in the content of our course, regardless of how intelligent they are. So there's a few things we had to do for this class, and so I just wanted to kind of explain my the things that I did. So, and then our discussions as well. So the big thing is kind of, let's go through the course. So, for example, greeting students. So I went to the PLC, or the professional learning on intelligent agents, but I haven't had a chance to implement it. But one thing I would really like to do in the fall is one of the things they suggested was turning on an intelligent agent for when a student not just logs into GAFS, but logs into your specific course, as if they're walking in the door to your classroom, sending them an email. It automatically sends them an email letting them know that they did walk into your classroom. So I noticed you logged into the course for the first time today. I hope you're able to find everything you're looking for. Here's a video to help you find your way around. I'm glad you're here. I can't wait to learn with you. This lets the students know that you're watching out for them, and you have their best interests at heart, and also then they feel more likely to ask you questions because you've already made that contact. So that's one cool thing I thought we could do. Another thing I thought would be cool is to either to do like a Padlet, or and basically this is like self-management and self-awareness. So making sure the students have that printed schedule. Okay. So I made a Padlet. Let's see if it'll go to it. And basically what I would like students to do is post a picture of them holding the printed course schedule, and then they'll get extra points on their first discussion post. And then also add a comment letting me know what they think of as their strengths as a student. So that way they're already thinking about how they are excellent, what they do well, instead of, oh my gosh, science is really hard for me. They're automatically thinking, oh, I am excellent at writing. Well, great. We have a lot of writing in environmental science, so that should be great for you, even though they don't necessarily, associate that with science. So that kind of thing. And then the second thing I did is I included the schedule, and one of the things I've done in my schedule is, we want to prepare our students for learning, and we want to treat them like adults, but they're not quite there yet. Even in AP classes, they're not quite adults. So one thing I do in my, for example, in my courses, as you can see here, start endangered species project, continue the project, continue it, turn it in. That way, they're continually reminded of it. Do they start it early? I don't know, but at least, it's there. So when they look at their schedule, hopefully they've got that printed out schedule because they, took a picture of it and printed it out for the Padlet. It all kind of works together. Then they're seeing this every day. So that's kind of one thing that I've done just to kind of start the course on the right note. The next thing we can do is how can we talk about relationships in the online classroom? So what do I have here? So it's hard to do relationships in the online classroom. They write discussions, they reply to each other, but they're kind of fake a little bit. Um, and so something that they suggested, one of the articles was creating a school-wide culture that is conducive to learning. And so that kind of relationship where we're all in this together, we're all really looking forward to learning. We appreciate learning. And so one of the things that I did is I made a video as how to use OneNote as a student. You can see I'm using it here. I've recorded all my discussion responses and things like that for this course. I have lots of stuff in here for OneNote. And so I showed them kind of how I take notes and how they could maybe take notes. And maybe that could help them not only in this class, but in their face-to-face classes and even on through college because they've got these notes for their classes. So it was something that I thought that maybe I could provide for them to kind of help them become better students and become, it's something that they could use in the future and not just in our class. And then in the future, I'd like to make even more videos, maybe like how to take notes. I could have the topic or the course in one side and my OneNote on the other side of the screen, and I could, kind of go through my rationales, how I take notes. And maybe that could help some of them because I feel like some students sometimes struggle with note taking. And then in responsible decision making, this is huge. In our classes here, we sometimes struggle with responsible decision making in the form of like plagiarism. And I get it. The students get really, a lot of these students aren't taking, at least for example, my class, because they failed it in their regular school or just because, they just need a forced science. Usually they're taking my class because, they're the top of the class kids. They get great grades in almost all their classes. And, let's try and fit one more AP in my schedule. Oh, I can't fit it in my regular schedule. I'll take it online. That way, when I apply to college, they can see that I've got a zillion AP classes. Whether that rationale makes sense or not is not the focus of this talk. But they're taking like 5 or 6 AP classes at once, and my class especially is a 36-week class that they're taking in 18, 16, or 14 weeks. So it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of assignments each week. So I get it. Out of sight, out of mind. Oh no, it's Wednesday. Oh no, it's Tuesday. Whenever they start their work, usually Wednesday. Wow, this lab is going to take a lot more time than I thought. Wow, let me Google it. Oh look, their same exact lab is on Course Hero. Well, why don't I just go ahead and submit the Course Hero one? She'll probably never notice. Well, I do. I try and tell them if it's easy for them to find, that it's easy for me to find as well. But anyway, so one thing I'm struggling with is I'm having the same students do it over and over and over, and some of them, they're not realizing that what they're doing is plagiarism because like, oh well, I don't want to do the conclusion, so I'll just copy the conclusion from somewhere else, but then I'll include my data. Okay, well, that's not really okay either. The whole thing is supposed to be your original work. So they're really struggling. And some of them even say, why did you give me a 0 for this? It's not plagiarism. I only copied this part. Or, and so they don't really understand why what they're doing is plagiarism. So in another group I'm in, it's actually a Facebook group for AP Environmental Science teachers, and they're from all over. Somebody shared this site, and it's really neat. It's like a little plagiarism mini course, and so you start here. You can learn about it. They said they've had over like 500,000 students do this little class, and basically there's tutorials. You register for certification test, take it, and then you get a certificate. And so what I thought is if a student plagiarized an assignment for me, I would have them take this course, show me the certificate, and then once they've shown me the certificate, then I could allow them to resubmit that assignment for reduced credit. And so at least they get something besides a 0, but also maybe they would learn, that plagiarism is not okay in the first place. I didn't want to just give it to everyone as an ELO because, some students never plagiarize. and so it'd be a waste for them. And a lot of times the ELO, the only kids that do that are the kids that don't need it, that already have really high grades and they don't need it anyway. So I didn't want to make it like a grade like that, but I wanted to somehow make sure that my students that are plagiarizing are seeing this and doing this little mini course. So hopefully once they've done that they've taken the course, not only are they able to recoup some points from that assignment they got a 0 on, but they're also learning what is plagiarism, and so hopefully they don't do it again in my course, and they don't do it in future courses or in college. And so again, this whole thing is like giving them these skills that aren't really super important. I mean, they're important in my class, but they're not specific to my class. They're important in their entire educational journey. And so they're getting these skills, printing out the syllabus. That's something, that's important to do in all classes. Focusing on their strengths, learning how to take notes and organizing their notes. Plagiarism, learning what is and is not plagiarism. So hopefully it's making them a more well-rounded student, and a student, hopefully I'm sending them off to their next class a better student. And not because they've learned some environmental science, but because they've learned some really important social and emotional skills. So anyway, that's my takeaway from the course, is we can kind of, even though it's an online course, we can still find ways to mold our students into good people and to help them become good students. And social and emotional learning, I think, is at the cornerstone of that, because it's not our content. It's something that they can take and they can use forever as a student or as a person in their workplace, that kind of thing. So that's my take on this social and emotional learning class.